In this video, we look at Bradley Welsh, a former boxer who transformed from fighter to community hero in Edinburgh's unforgiving streets. But on a fatal evening in 2019, as he returned home from his boxing gym, a single gunshot would end his story. The price for his life? £10,000. The killer was hired, the hit was planned, and Welsh never saw it coming. This wasn't just another murder in Scotland's capital. It was an execution that would expose how Edinburgh's polished surface masks a deadly criminal underworld, where redemption stories sometimes end in bullets. Edinburgh isn't just the tourist hotspot most people know. Beyond its famous castle and historic streets, there's a darker side to Scotland's capital. In recent years, organised crime has tightened its grip on the city, turning certain neighbourhoods into territories where violence has become common. Like many UK cities, Edinburgh's criminal world operates just beneath the surface, where business deals and blood feuds often go hand in hand. This was the Edinburgh that Bradley Welsh navigated daily, a place where your reputation could make you both respected and targeted. Here, the line between legitimate business and the underworld was paper-thin, and crossing it even unintentionally could prove fatal. Bradley Welsh was no ordinary victim. At 48, he had built a reputation that straddled two worlds. In the ring, he was known as a former British ABA, lightweight boxing champion, his powerful jabs and quick footwork earning him respect throughout Scotland's boxing scene. But it was his work, after hanging up his gloves, that truly defined him. Welsh transformed himself into a prominent figure in Edinburgh's community, running the Holyrood Boxing Gym, where he trained local kids for free, keeping them off the streets and away from the very dangers he once knew. His gym became more than just a place to train. It was a sanctuary for troubled youth, a testament to Welsh's belief in second chances. Yet, despite his legitimate success and community work, whispers followed him. His name carried weight in circles far removed from his boxing gym, and his connections, both past and present, ran deep into Edinburgh's underworld. Some said he knew too much. Others claimed he'd stepped on the wrong toes. Whatever the truth, Bradley Welsh was a man who understood the delicate balance between Edinburgh's two faces, until the day that balance was shattered by a single bullet. On the evening of April 17, 2019, the usual quiet of Chester Street in Edinburgh's West End was about to be shattered. Bradley Welsh was returning home from his boxing gym, following the same routine he'd kept for years. At around 8 p.m, just steps from his basement flat, a figure emerged from the growing shadows. The street was nearly empty, the evening light fading when a single gunshot rang out. Welsh collapsed on his own doorstep, just meters from where his young daughter was waiting inside. Neighbours, startled by the sound, rushed to their windows. Some came outside to help, finding Welsh bleeding heavily. One witness would later describe seeing a man in a dark jacket running away, disappearing into the maze of Edinburgh's historic streets. Emergency services arrived within minutes, but despite their efforts, Bradley Welsh was pronounced dead at the scene. In those first chaotic moments, as police cordoned off the street and news began to spread across the city, no one yet realized they were looking at one of the most calculated hits Edinburgh had seen in years. As detectives began piecing together the events leading to Welsh's murder, a disturbing truth emerged. This wasn't a random attack or a heated dispute gone wrong. It was a meticulously planned assassination. Behind closed doors, police discovered that weeks before the shooting, a £10,000 contract had been placed on Welsh's life. The hit had been ordered by figures deeply embedded in Edinburgh's criminal hierarchy, people who operated in shadows, far from the community champion that the public knew. The key lay in Welsh's past connections and recent disputes that had put him at odds with one of Scotland's most dangerous crime networks. Despite his transformation into a community leader, Welsh's earlier associations had marked him. Sources close to the investigation revealed that Welsh had been warned about threats to his life. But like many men who'd spent years in the fight game, he had chosen to stand his ground. This decision would prove fatal, setting in motion a chain of events that would expose just how sophisticated organised crime in Edinburgh had become. As investigators would later discover, the plan to kill Bradley Welsh had been orchestrated with chilling precision. The hired hitman, Orman, wasn't chosen at random. He was a 30-year-old career criminal with a reputation for violence and a price. £10,000 to carry out the hit. In the weeks leading up to the murder, Orman had stalked Welsh's movements, learning his daily routines, studying the layout of Chester Street, and identifying the perfect spot to strike. A stolen Ford Cougar was acquired specifically for the job, its number plates switched to throw off any investigation. CCTV footage would later reveal the same car circling Welsh's neighbourhood multiple times in the days before the shooting, like a shark sizing up its prey. The weapon, a shotgun, had been carefully selected and transported to Edinburgh. The planners had thought of everything: timing, escape routes, even the exact spot where the getaway vehicle would be abandoned and torched. They were creating what they thought was a perfect murder, but in their meticulous planning, they left behind a trail that would eventually lead straight to them. The execution was as brutal as it was precise. At 8 p.m. on April 17th, when Bradley Welsh turned onto Chester Street, everything was in position. The street's Victorian architecture created perfect shadows for concealment. Welsh had just finished another day at his gym, his mind likely on the training sessions he'd conducted with local kids. As he approached his basement flat, Orman emerged from his hiding spot. There was no confrontation, no chance for Welsh to defend himself, just a single shotgun blast that echoed through the evening air. The shot struck Welsh in the head, leaving him crumpled on his own doorstep. As neighbours rushed to help, Orman was already running to the waiting Ford Cougar. The car sped away through Edinburgh's winding streets, following a pre-planned route designed to evade CCTV cameras. Within hours, the vehicle would be found burning in a remote location, another calculated step in what the killers believed was an untraceable crime. But what they didn't know was that several witnesses had seen the shooter's face, and more importantly, caught a glimpse of a distinctive tattoo that would later become crucial evidence. In the hours following Welsh's murder, Edinburgh was gripped by shock. News spread rapidly through social media, and by morning, crowds had gathered at Holyrood Boxing Gym, leaving flowers and messages. The impact of his death rippled through both worlds he inhabited. In the boxing community, former students spoke of a mentor who'd given them direction when they needed it most. Hibs football fans, who knew Welsh from his appearances in Trainspotting and his support for the club, paid tribute at their next match. But beneath the public mourning, a different reaction was unfolding in Edinburgh's criminal circles. The brutal efficiency of the hit sent a clear message: no one was untouchable. The post-mortem revealed the clinical nature of the attack. A single shotgun wound, fired at close range, suggested this was no amateur job. As investigators worked, they discovered Welsh had been warned about threats to his life. He'd been offered police protection but had declined, perhaps believing his reputation would protect him. In the end, it was this same reputation that had marked him for death, proving that in Edinburgh's underworld, past connections could become present death sentences. The investigation's breakthrough came through modern technology. Detectives pieced together a digital trail that would prove crucial. Cell phone data placed Orman near Welsh's home in the days before the murder, conducting surveillance. CCTV footage showed the Ford Cougar's movements across Edinburgh, capturing crucial moments of preparation. But it was the messages between the conspirators that painted the clearest picture. In one exchange, a message discussed the 10 bags, slang for the £10,000 payment. Another message mentioned viewing the house, a cold reference to surveilling Welsh's home. Social media provided another layer of evidence. Photos showed Orman, with the distinctive tattoo witnesses had described, while location data from phones mapped out the planning stages of the hit. The investigators also uncovered evidence of weapon movement. The shotgun had been transported across Edinburgh in the weeks before the murder, its journey traced through cell tower pings and witness statements. Each digital breadcrumb led closer to the truth, proving that in an age of surveillance, even the most carefully planned hit leaves an electronic signature. The arrests began in a cascade of early morning raids. Orman was the first to be taken into custody, arrested after a dramatic police chase that ended on Edinburgh's outskirts. When officers searched his residence, they found clothing matching witness descriptions from the night of the murder. The investigation then expanded, leading to several other arrests connected to the planning and execution of the hit. During questioning, Orman maintained his silence, but his co-conspirators began to crack. One revealed details about the payment structure, another about the weapons procurement. The evidence mounted: cell phone records, CCTV footage, witness statements, and forensic evidence from the burned-out Ford Cougar all pointed to a carefully orchestrated assassination. The murder weapon was never found, but police recovered shotgun cartridges matching the type used in Welsh's murder. Perhaps most damning was the recovery of burn phones, used exclusively for planning the hit, their data revealing the full scope of the conspiracy. Despite attempts to destroy evidence, the digital trail had become impossible to erase. The trial at the High Court in Edinburgh began in April 2021, almost exactly 2 years after Welsh's murder. The prosecution methodically laid out their case, revealing new details that shocked even those familiar with the investigation. Cell site analysis showed how Orman had stalked Welsh for weeks, learning his routines. Witnesses came forward to describe seeing the Ford Cougar circling Chester Street in the days before the murder. The court heard how the £10,000 contract had been arranged, with money changing hands in suburban car parks and back alley meetings. More disturbing details emerged about the planning: how Welsh's gym had been watched, his family photographed, his daily routine documented. A witness testified about Orman bragging about the hit, claiming it was easy money. The evidence painted a picture of cold, calculated murder that had been weeks in the planning. Text messages revealed discussions about the best time to strike, the ideal escape routes, and how to dispose of evidence. But perhaps most chilling was CCTV footage showing Orman's movements on the day of the murder, calmly preparing to end a man's life for money. After a trial that laid bare the brutal machinery of Edinburgh's organised crime, justice was finally served. Orman was found guilty of Bradley Welsh's murder and sentenced to 28 years in prison. The judge described the killing as an assassination pure and simple, a contract murder carried out with chilling precision for just £10,000. But the verdict brought little comfort to a city changed by the murder. Bradley Welsh's death had ripped away Edinburgh's veneer of respectability, exposing how organised crime had evolved in Scotland's capital. Today, the Holyrood Boxing Gym stands as Welsh's legacy, still offering hope to young people seeking a different path. The same streets where he trained troubled kids are now patrolled by police officers more aware than ever of the criminal undercurrents flowing through their city. Welsh's murder marked a turning point in Edinburgh's battle with organised crime, forcing authorities to confront the sophistication of modern criminal networks. In the end, this wasn't just about a boxer who was gunned down on his doorstep. It was about a man who tried to change his world, only to be pulled back into the darkness by forces he thought he'd left behind. Bradley Welsh's story serves as a stark reminder that in Edinburgh's underworld, the past never truly fades, and redemption comes at a price that sometimes proves fatal. His death exposed how thin the line has become between Edinburgh's respectable face and its criminal heart. In a city where tourists snap photos of the castle while contract killers plan their next move, Bradley Welsh's murder stands as a warning that beneath the cobblestones and spires, a different Edinburgh exists, one where life can be ended for the price of a used car. For more true crime stories that expose the hidden side of Britain's cities, hit like and subscribe. Until next time, stay alert and stay safe.